Yeah, boom to the hay, all you sports fans, or to you, the individuals, part of the collective, out there in the tubosphere. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Rack Highlights, here on Talk Radio version of OMSR. I am your host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. So what does all that catchphraseology mean? Sports rack, it's on display. Fast track means it's going to be pretty quickie. Although, I've been waiting for a repeat of this to show y'all for a long time. We're talking the SEC championship game, first conference championship game ever, be it a risque, back in 1992. Now, this hasn't been on the air since August. The first rendition being digitized out on digital cable from the U of ESPN was very splotchy, pixelated, you know what I mean, when that upper echelon of channels, above, in the 3-digit range, above 100, was terrible. It was a terrible recording. And I was going to put them up. This is split up into 6 parts because it was an hour-long show. So obviously not going to take an hour-long show and throw it up on YouTube. You can't do that anymore. The point is, this was a much better broadcast. And I'm not too sure if it's going to be shown again this year because we're already halfway through the college football season. So it's great viewing, parts 1 through 6. You got to check it out. They speak for themselves. This will be the baseline show. If you haven't seen the other ones, you really should start from part 1 so you can see all the way through to part 6. It'll make sense. It'll take you back in the Wayback Machine. All you dudes from my generation, late teens, early 20-somethings, even you 30-somethings, you'll get a kick out of it. Hearing Keith Jackson, young Gary Danielson, I was going to say Derek Danielson, and the intro music for ABC back then. How things have changed, not only in the sense of what they were showing and how it's involved in college football, but ABC used to show all the big games back then. Now the SEC's on CBS. Very fascinating stuff. You'll love it. We'll get a kick out of it. Shout out to my girlfriend down there in T-Town. All right. Thanks for watching. Plenty of other stuff on the channel for your entertainment needs, college football needs. Later days and more signature plays.
We've got Brian in Birmingham is up next. Brian, good morning. Welcome in.
When you look at the SEC championship game over its 20-year history now, where do you think the Antonio Langham interception ranks in all of that history?
Yeah, I tell you, it's got to rank up there pretty high. Definitely for me. As a guy that saw it happen and he went on to play for a national championship, winning that SEC title game.
Hey, Tony, what's happening, baby? What's up, Keith? What's up, man? What's going on, man? I'm doing too much, man. Trying to keep this thing clean around here.
Well, no matter where I go, first thing they do is they mention that play. Man, that interception in '92 in the SEC championship game.
I know where I was. I was actually at the game. And I think, who was the quarterback then?
Shane Matthews.
Yeah, Shane Matthews threw the ball. He picked the ball up, and I stood up. I'm like, yeah, he's going to take one to the house.
A lot of people tend to ask, they like, do you ever get tired of it? No, because people could easily forget about you. But for people to still recognize me, shake my hand, and tell me they love me and how much they appreciate everything I did for the University of Alabama, how can you ever get tired of it? How can it ever grow old? It can't. The only thing I can do is grow old.
Perhaps Antonio Langham's hope is that the memory of the play will always overshadow what happened the following year.
You know that Antonio Langham, he was responsible for Alabama having to forfeit their games in '93.
The situation that led to the NCAA probation. Well, it was actually really just a few weeks after his defining moment. He was in New Orleans. Alabama was celebrating the victory over Miami, and he had contact with an agent. Signed something. The legend is that he signed a cocktail napkin for $400 to serve that he would turn pro with this agent. Later decided he didn't want to turn pro.
The agent story broke the week of the second SEC title game. It didn't affect Bama's national title, but every win or tie Langham played in '93 was later purged from the record book.
A lot of people want to say it happened this way, and a lot of people want to say it happened that way, and I really won't get back into it, but You know, things happen for a reason. Sometimes things happen to make you grow up, you know, and make you become more responsible. And trust me, the whole ordeal made me be more mindful of the things and more aware of the things that go on around me.
And think about this kid that left Town Creek, Alabama. He's the biggest football hero in the state, and now he has to come to grips with the fact that now he's shamed. And he's shamed the program, and as a result, he's shamed his family. Long term, that's not how he'll be remembered. I don't think that's how he's remembered now. But short term, I just can't not even imagine what he had to deal with emotionally.
Langham was selected 9th overall in the 1994 NFL Draft by the Cleveland Browns. He played with several NFL teams in his 7 years in the league, but the memorabilia in his home is clearly more concerned with the 4 years he spent at Alabama.
See all SEC team here. I keep a folder in my car just full of pictures, and I just make sure I keep a box of pictures at the house. And I run into people sometimes, they might say, "Can you sign a napkin for me?" And I'll just be like, "Oh, just give me a minute." I go out to the car and pull you out a picture and bring it to you. There's a lot of sentimental stuff in this room here, a lot of trophies, and this is my prized Daniel Moore painting. He captured it pretty well. I kind of enjoy it a lot. When I'm sitting in my office here, I get to look at it quite a bit.
As you'd expect, the interception means one thing to the man who caught the ball, and quite another to the man who threw it.
Oh, let's rewind that. Yeah, y'all gonna make me not be able to sleep tonight. Oh. Yep, the boys need to send me my ring. Yeah. Awful decision. It doesn't matter what coaches say or fans say or teammates say, you know you let the team down here.
Shane Matthews lost the SEC championship game, but this didn't define his future. He never became a star in the NFL, but playing quarterback earned him a good living in the league for more than a decade.
But you did play for him. How many years did you play for him?
You know, I got 14 years in, you know, 14 years? And I wasn't even drafted. I beat the system somehow because I was small. You know, I was only 180 pounds when I was at the combine, and somehow, you know, playing for Spurrier prepared me for the NFL, learning his playbooks and understanding how to attack coverage and stuff, and that kept me around. You know, 14 years, I think I only started 35 games in 14 years.
I was just about to say, you didn't beat the system. You was a smart quarterback, man. When you're a smart quarterback like that, you know how to run a system, so you're going to stay around a long time.
The play has left a mark on the lives of both men. Also, it's possible to chart the impact Langham's interception had on the entire landscape of college football in the years that followed.
How did it affect the history of college football? I think that legitimized in many ways the idea of the conference championship game, that you could have one and that it could be a success.
Very soon, people began to look at it and say, well, maybe we would someday want to do this.
And that's why we have this crazy conference expansion mania today. It all started that night. I mean, there's no question about that.
In an alternate reality, if Antonio Langham does not intercept that pass and Florida goes on to score and wins, it's probably unlikely that the Big 12 does what they do and start their own championship game. It's probably unlikely that the ACC goes through all the machinations it went through to get to 12 teams. It's unlikely that the Big 10 does it. It's unlikely that there's a Pac-12 now. There'd probably still be a Pac-10. Conference USA has a championship game too. The MAC has a championship game. The world has changed.
If Antonio Langham would not have picked off the ball, how would that have turned out if...
Well, Antonio's always been my hero.
Right. He's considered the hero because
he's my hero.
He's mine too.
That's a good question. Fortunately, you guys from Alabama saved us, because not only did you win this ball game, you went down there and killed Gino Torretti in Miami, but that sort of shut everybody up. So obviously the championship game hasn't hurt. If anything, it's kind of elevated the Southeastern Conference and made it even bigger nationally.
The game has only cost a school a shot at the national title once. In 2001, when Tennessee was upset by LSU. The rest of the time, it's been the opposite of a curse, often morphing into a Super Bowl-like extravaganza since moving to Atlanta's Georgia Dome in '94. It also pulls great TV ratings for college football, especially the last 6 years when it's featured the eventual BCS national champion.
From 2006 on, the SEC championship game has been a play-in game for the BCS championship game. That's been the most important game in college football, short of the championship game itself. Much more important than the Rose Bowl or the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl.
It's meant a lot to our league. It's made our league, I think.
You know, it sells out without anybody knowing who's going to be in the game in March every year. And I'll never forget the first year, ABC, they called back, I think, the day after the game and wanted to renew it because it had that air of excitement about it.
This helps explain why the SEC's TV deals, which back in the early 80s earned around $2 million a year, now bring in more than $200 million annually. This has all made Roy Kramer look like a prophet.
In 2009, I was named the SEC Legend, and I got to meet Mr. Kramer after at the banquet. And he gave me this big, big hug, and he held me for a long time. He said, I want to say thank you. He said, because y'all kind of made me look like a genius, he said.
Certainly, had it been a failure, his career might have turned out differently.
He goes from creating the SEC championship game to creating the BCS. He was the father of the BCS. And once again, everybody, he got a lot of scorn, a lot of people wondering, this will never work.
People can argue about it the rest of their lives. We probably keep a lot of call-in shows in business just by arguing how bad the BCS is. But it has worked extremely well. We created games that would have never taken place. It is so great to be here with you guys today because the very bricks that are the foundation of this game are sitting right here in this stadium. Without your excitement, without your enthusiasm and emotion that day, we would have never been able to elevate that game to what it is today. It has become a truly great event because guys like you put your heart into that game and made it what it is. And we will always be indebted to you as a conference for what you did that cold Saturday afternoon right here in this stadium.